We are live, Detroit Lions fans. The analytics in here to react to the Lions versus Eagles game. Give my 2 cents on the entire game, and I'm also gonna give my Commanders prediction. That'll be my only video for the week, unless I maybe do a collab with someone. And so let me make sure the sound is working well for you guys. Indeed, it is. All right, so. First off, let's look at the Eagles versus Lions. Just kind of look at the basic stats real quick for both the offense and the defense. So, of course, Jalen Hurts actually didn't do that great as a passer versus us. 0 touchdowns, 80 rating, 8 out of 32 attempts. But he beat us with a couple of deep throws because Amani or Rory Way and Will Harris suck. So that was a bit frustrating. Jalen Hurts also was just shown to be a really slippery player. The man, anytime the Lions got any pressure, he could just run up a hole or from the outside and just escape the defensive lineman. It was an impressive showing. In fact, we only were able to get 1 sack. Jared Goff had himself a very up and down day. First half was absolutely dreadful, partly because of vanilla play calling, but Goff also himself had very suspicious throws. It'll be interesting to see if he can start being consistent in both halves, or we're going to have a repeat of last year where he's a 1/2 story. Rushing game, we got owned. Miles Sanders got 5.3 yards per carry, although for the most part we contained him. He only had himself he had 7.4 yards per carry. He only had like one big run. For the most part, we kept him down to maybe 5 or 3 yard carries, but only one big carry was allowed. But sad enough, we did allow 4 rushing touchdowns. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 rushing touchdowns. Not a good day for a run D. Deandre Swift blew up, earning himself 29.50 fantasy points, 9.6 yards a carry, 144 yards, and 1 touchdown. He had himself a big day. He was plowing over people, popping outside. Really just having himself a good day. Jared Goff actually had a nice little run where he juked out a guy. Jamal Williams was good in the red zone, but sucky as a normal ball carrier, only getting 2.5 yards per carry with a long of 7. A.J. Brown absolutely owned Amani Oruwariwe and Will Harris on 2 deep balls, which got him to his 155-yard day. The rest of the receiving corps didn't do too much. Styles Crowder did have a nice 27-yard catch. Lions receiving corps itself also had a little bit of a meh day. Amon-Ra St. Brown did have 64 yards and touchdown, but he did have a drop, but did have a nice 29-yard play. Chark had a 22-yard catch as well with a really nice touchdown. And to his name, but he did have a drop. And T.J. Hawkinson had a miscommunication, which led to interception. And Josh Reynolds had a nice big catch, but did have also a big drop catch. So not a good day on that regard. Because it's just reacting based stats. I'll react a little bit more to it later. Defense, overall, the defense didn't really actually kill us all too much besides for the interception. They really only did good that 1/2. So we kind of adjusted well. Good job by the coaching staff for adjusting to the opposing defense later in the game. Our defense actually did a pretty okay job, especially at the beginning, but most specifically 2 guys, well, actually 3 guys really popped off that game. Jeff Okudah, where he had 10 tackles, only allowed 1 catch for 7 yards, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass defense. Sorry, actually, he didn't get tackled for loss. Sorry, my bad. So he had himself a pretty dang good day. Looked like the OSU and what we thought we were going to get out of Jeff Okudah. Tracy Walker had himself 11 total tackles and 1 sack and 1 pass defense himself. And that was he didn't get more stats because he was ejected. This did not happen again. And Malcolm Rodriguez got 6 tackles, 4 of them being solo. It was a good day for Rodrigo, even though he did switch out with Barnes and Board. And John Kaminsky also got himself a tackle, but in 3 pressures. So that's just looking at the box scores. A little bit of things that I noticed if you watch film a bit. The biggest issue for the Lions' game was miscommunication. That was probably the biggest issue of the day. And drops. There were 6 total drops for the Detroit Lions yesterday. And it led to some really missed opportunities. Josh Reynolds had himself a near touchdown opportunity. I can't show it because I don't want copyright, but it would have been a clear, open touchdown for him to go get it. Nothing but grass was left, but unfortunately he dropped it on his hands. All the other drops were only like 5 yard catches, but they could have gotten you first downs. And there's two miscommunications. One led to an interception. T.J. Hawkinson ran the wrong route, and uh, the other one was just a wrong route again. Goff thought he was going somewhere else and threw it, and nearly got picked off. So for the most part, it's really small things the Lions need to start getting down. As in terms of the players themselves, they need to start getting down to those small things. Create more creative play calling. The first half play calling was really predictable. That cannot happen. That's what leads to bad plays, like we did in the first half. You can't just run two screens and a tight end screen in like two drives. It's very predictable. For our passing game, Goff needs to handle some pressure more and learn to maybe overcome maybe not the world's best play calling. Defensively, they just kind of got gassed out. They wasn't really too much of. I don't blame the defense too much for what happened, but they got gassed out. I would say what needs to happen is we need to get better at containing QB runs. Um, Barnes did miss a very crucial tackle, which could have actually given us a chance to win the game, which led to Miles Sanders' 24-yard run. And he also happened to block Aiden Hutchinson from actually tackling him too. Ran right into him. And overall, we just need to get better at run defense. We allowed 4 rushing touchdowns, which is never good to see. All the running backs had good yards per carry. Pass defense was actually pretty good. Hopefully, we can start being a bit more consistent, not let a deep ball happen on us, like AJ Brown. So really, I think a lot of this is week one, which is week one rust. Maybe and then here's my other thing. We had a lot of, I think, first timers today. We had Rodriguez, that was his first game. Aiden Hutchinson, his first game. Mike Hughes' first game with us. It was Ben Johnson's first day play calling. It was DJ Chark's first game with us. It was Logan Stenberg's first rookie start. Well, not rookie start, but first start. He looked like a rookie, though. So we had a lot of players that we didn't have last year that it was probably their first game in a real game as a group in a core, and a rookie play caller in Ben Johnson. So I think a little bit was just that. It was just, chemistry issues in week one, and you'll also see a little bit of a rookie play caller and some rust just getting kicked off. I do think Washington's going to be a big bounce back game, though. And that's where you segue into the Washington game. Also, welcome to the live 2 viewers. So, Washington, this is going to be bold. I might get some hate for this. I'm going to do it. But Lions versus Commanders score and stat prediction. So I'll give you the stats for the game, and I'll give you the score for the game. This is one of my bolder ones, but I think the Detroit Lions are going to clearly win this game. I think the Lions win 31-17. I think it's definitely going to be a win. It might be close, but I think this is going to be a basically guaranteed win for us. I'm not impressed with the Commanders. I rest in peace to my pops, who's a Commanders fan. But I think our team's better in almost every position besides for like defensive tackle. Chase Young is hurt. Their backup tackle for Darian defensive tackle is hurt. I don't like their secondary. I don't like their linebackers. They got really, in my opinion, only one scary receiver in Terry McLaurin. Antonio Gibson lost his job to Brian Robinson, but the only reason he's starting is Brian Robinson got shot. And their run game didn't even look good versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their pass rusher only got 2 sacks on the Jags. It just did not look like the defense or offense you'd expect. And they also struggled to beat the Jags. They ended up nearly losing that game. Carson Wentz did kind of pull off a Jared Goff, though, and had a good second half. I'm only going to do Lions, not the Commanders, for my stat predictions. So for QBs, I think Jared Goff's going to have himself a big bounce in that game. I think he's pissed. I think the team's ready to go eat up on an injured Washington pass rush and a weak Washington secondary where he gets 328 yards and 3 touchdowns. And running back, I think Deandre Swift's going to have 113 yards, 1 touchdown, 38 rec yards. And Jamal Williams gets 38 yards and 10 reception yards. Also, I do want to talk about Deandre Swift. He looked like a different animal. If anyone watched Hard Knocks, Deandre Swift was basically being told he needs to be greedy. He needs to start bouncing outside. And he needs to fight for every yard. That's what he looked like yesterday. He was plowing people over. He was bouncing outside. He was using his vision a lot more. He was great. And I think that he's going to absolutely kill this Washington defense with our line of the line. Moving on to receiver, I think DJ Chark gets 79 yards and 1 touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets 104 yards and 1 touchdown. And Josh Reynolds gets 49 yards. TJ Hawkinson gets 48 yards and 1 touchdown. I was a bit disappointed with Hawk yesterday. Wasn't that good of a blocker. Looked like I don't know, he's just looking like he's still having some mistakes he had in his sophomore year. And O-line, I think we have 0 sacks allowed, 8 total pressures, but we also have some great running block. If we do have a sack allowed, by the way, it's going to be Logan Stenberg. But overall, let me give some justifications for this now. So, receiver, again, it's a weak secondary. Washington Commanders roster it has some solid players on it. Defensively, Kendall Fuller, he's kind of They basically got two Amani O'Rourke's and Kendall Fuller and William Jackson. I don't like their slot corner. I don't like their free safety all that much. I do like Hermaine Curl. Only Cole Holcomb is a good linebacker. Montez Sweat's a above average defensive end. He's basically Charles Harris level. Donta Allen's a monster. Payne is good. James Smith-Williams, I don't think is that good. Phildarian Mathis is hurt. I really do think this is just going to be a W for the Detroit Lions. I just don't know if I'm just extremely confident we were doing it. But, so then, yeah, I'll see your guys' reaction actually here in a second, actually, since I finished the offense. That dude live, oh my gosh, that dude live, what up, homie? Haven't seen you in a good second. Remember, we were also down Levi Pascal and Romeo, I assume. So Rookie Hutch can't do it himself. Well, I think Charles Harris is a great player. But yeah, we'll talk about that with the defense. When was the last time a Lions team scored a TD in every quarter? I think Caldwell era. Oh, actually, never mind. Jacksonville game in 2019 or 2020. No, 2020 was when we faced Jacksonville and blew them out. I think that was the last time we did it. Okay, so moving on to defensive end. Aiden Hutchinson, 4 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 4 pressures, 2 QB hits. He's facing a very easy Washington O-line. If you look here, that they're Charles Leno Jr., Sam Cosme, Trey Turner, pretty good guard. Chase Roller, bad. Andrew Norwell, not good. It's not a good group. Their best lineman, I think, is Sam Cosme in terms of tackle. That's a group that can get killed. Aiden Hutchinson can kill him at defensive end. They can kill him at 3-tech. Charles Harris, he's a good defensive end as well. This is a guy who had 7.5 sacks and 50-plus pressures last year. And more importantly, last week versus the Philadelphia Eagles, per Pro Football Focus, and I got this from a tweet by Kyle Manicki. I think that's how you say his last name. I'm sorry if I botched his name. But the Lions had 19 pressures versus the Philadelphia Eagles. We actually got a lot of pressure versus Philly, but unfortunately, Jalen Hurts, every time we got a pressure on him, was the flash and just bolted up the middle because Michael Rockers left up a hole almost every time. It's a good game for that group, but yeah, so then Charles Harris, 5 tackles, 0.5 sacks, 3 pressures, 1 QB hit. Austin Bryant, 2 tackles, 2 pressures. John Kaminsky, 1 tackle, 2 pressures. Defensive tackles, Aleem McNeil gets 4 tackles and 2 tackles. Maybe Brockers gets like 1, but I don't even want to speak his name. I hated his game. Linebacker, I think Malcolm Rodriguez, or as we love to call him, Rodrigo, gets 9 tackles and 1 forced fumble. Alex Anzalone gets 7 tackles and 1 touchdown allowed in both coverage and in rushing. Derek Barnes gets 2 tackles. At the cornerback position, Amani Oruwariwe gets 5 tackles, 64% completion percentage, and 1 touchdown allowed. This is going to be facing a Scary Terry, although I hope Jeff Okudah is facing a Scary Terry. Jeff Okudah gets 8 tackles, 30% completion percentage, 0 touchdowns allowed, 1 pass defense, and I think his completions will be like ding and nugs. Mike Hughes gets 4 tackles, 58% completion percentage, and 0 touchdowns allowed. Will Harris gets 2 tackles, 80% completion percentage. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give 1 touchdown. No. Mike Hughes might have we'll see what happens with Jaron Dodson, but I think he's good enough to handle him. He's a rookie versus a veteran. Safety, I think Tracy Walker gets 14 tackles, and Deshaun Elliott gets 6 tackles. Austin Cyber, I think, is 1 of 1 for 39-yarder, and all extra points are made by him. All right, so now for my justifications for these statistical predictions. Uh, like I said, I think the pass rush is going to absolutely eat. I know I didn't do exact pressure numbers, um, but because I do think there might be more pressures from McNeil and Bugs and maybe the linebackers, but I think linebackers and safety pressures and cornerback pressures and maybe like a nose tackle pressure is kind of hard to predict. I'm sure we'll get more. I just think that when a pass rush is going to eat on a guy like Carson Wentz who struggles with pressure and also just in my opinion isn't that mobile of a guy and struggled versus Jacksonville, that's where they're actually going to kill him. Rodrigo had himself 6 tackles when he didn't even play the entire game. He did start, but he did play most of the game and he had 6 tackles. And I think having himself going a lot easier offense will be a good day for him. Alex Angelone, meh. He's Alex Angelone. Derek Barnes, hopefully he doesn't miss a tackle again. Okuda actually allowed only 1 catch for 7 yards. So he was actually dominant last week, and he had 10 tackles as well. Monty Oriwe I think he's just going to be in and out of doing anything productive. And Mike Hughes had himself a solid game last week too. Will Harris was awful. I really can't. I hope Jerry Jacobs is the backup corner instead of Will Harris. Safety, Tracy Walker himself 13 tackles last week and a sack and a pass defense. So I think he can have himself another great day in terms of tackles again. And Elliott, I think, will be a good savior tackle guy again. And Cyber, I think, can easily kind of kick this. I just think 1 field goal is very realistic. But yeah, so that is my reaction kind of a bit to the Eagles and Lions game, but that's also my prediction for the Commanders and the Lions. Overall, I just also think that comparing their spots, Lions I think has a better receiver group, a running back group, quarterback group, tight end group I think is about even. I think we have the better right tackle, left guard, and center. We have so basically our entire offense that is better besides for right guard. And not even basically it is. It's basically right guard and tight end. And then I think we still have a slightly better tight end because I think DJ Hawkinson's better than Logan Thomas. Defensively, we have a better defensive end duo. They have the better defensive tackle duo. I think the linebackers are basically the same. Just Cole Holcomb is slightly better than Rodrigo. Drummond Davis was horrible last year. I think their cornerback core is only slightly better than ours, but actually, no, I actually think it's worse than ours. I just don't like it, and I think they have the better strong safety, but we have the better free safety. But like overall, we're just better, almost like 90% of the roster. But yeah, I just think this is going to be the big bounce back game. Lions are pissed that they ended up folding versus the Philadelphia Eagles. They weren't able to make that comeback. They struggled. They had all this hype. They had all this hope. They're going to come back very pissed and very angry. Their rust is off their shoulders. They got all this good stuff and all that. Steve, Chase Young is injured. He's been on IR for like a week now, homie. Also, Chase Young also had a pretty bad year last year, actually. I think he had only 1.5 sacks in 7 games. 9 games. In 9 games, he had 1.5 sacks, only 4 QB hits, 3 tackles for loss, only 13 pressures. Either way, Chase Young isn't playing, regardless of what you think about Chase. So we 100% have the better defensive end duo. And so, yeah, I just think overall we just have the better groups. And yeah. I guess if you guys have any other thoughts and maybe you want me to react to, maybe you have some questions. Oh, actually, I do have a list of some other stuff I talked about for the Eagles game on Twitter that I put up. Let's see. Okay, so here's my 9 issues with the BYU. Not BYU. Sorry, I was just on my Twitter feed with the Eagles game. Predictable and vanilla play calling on the offense in the first half. 6 drop passes, wrong routes run, some sus throws from Goff in the first half. Poor tackling, Amani and Will Harris. Third down defense. I believe they converted almost every single third down that game. Onside kicks 4 minutes and left in the third, and 9 lack of Swift usage. I think those are kind of my bigger issues, and also lack of conversion on third down offense. And so, yeah. I do think non-mobile QBs are going to have a problem against us because there's a lot of penetration against the Eagles. You're 100% correct, and the Eagles have themselves a good offensive tackle duo and even a pretty dang good center. We all know that. So I'm pretty excited to see what our D-line does. I'm excited to see what our entire team does versus Washington. I'm expecting a secure W, and I was being a bit bold with that basic blowout, but I'm very excited to see what they do, and yeah, I don't know. Actually, does anyone want to know who my stock up players, like the guys who are my game ball? I generally try to always leave on a positive note as well. But yeah, actually, I'll just say it right now. I would say the guys that really impressed me yesterday was Deandre Swift, Amon St. Brown, kind of an obvious one. I was very impressed by how Taylor Decker and Penny Sewell in terms did versus line. I was very impressed by Jonah Jackson. I was very impressed by Jeff Okuda, and I was very impressed by Tracy Walker and Rodriguez. So there's about 8 players I think that played a really good game. I'm very excited to see how they all do. But, yeah, so that's probably the most I can do for this live, guys. I'm sorry, it's going to be quick, but that's all I have time for today. I might get like a round table, bring in Rams House or Izzy or a couple people I know. Or, yeah, but I'll see you guys later. One Pride, go Lions, and have you guys having a great day, y'all.